Now the last topic for the day is interrogative sentences. Now let's see how do we change interrogative direct speeches to reported speeches. We'll do this with the help of the example first and then understand the rules, because then it will become easier. Now this is a certain survey and the representative said or asked me certain questions. These are the questions in direct form. That means all of them are in inverted forms, and we have to convert them into a reported speech. Let's look at the first sentence. Where do you work? So the representative said to me, where do you work? Now if it is converted into a direct or a report, from a direct speech to a reported speech, then the representative asked me, we'll change this into where did I work? Again, the second sentence, the representative asked or said to me, how often do you eat out at a restaurant? He asked me, how often do I eat out at a restaurant? The third sentence, the third question asked by the representative to me was, do you entertain friends at home or outside? And if I have to tell it to somebody, the representative asked me if I entertained friends at home or outside. Now the last question that the representative asked me was, are you a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian? So here the representative, for the fourth sentence, I'll write down the whole thing. The representative inquired if I was a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. Now the ones in the blue are the direct speeches and the ones in the red are the indirect speeches or the reported speech. Now let's understand under what all implication of rules have we converted them. Let's move to the rules segment. As per the first rule, we use wherever the word said has been used in the direct speech, we convert it either into asked me or inquired. So asked and inquired has been used. Let's move to the second rule that says sentence begins. When a sentence begins with an interrogative pronoun. Now what is an interrogative pronoun? Words like where, how are interrogative pronouns. In this case, these words remain unchanged even in the reported speech. So a where remains where and a how remains how in any case in the reported speech as well. Now in case of auxiliary verbs. Now what are auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary verbs are is, are, am, do, does, did. Certain words like these are auxiliary verbs. I hope you now can correlate with verb segment. Now in auxiliary verbs like do, are, we change the word from this to if, or auxiliary verbs get changed to if or whether as per the needs of the sentence. Now question mark is replaced by a full stop. Now as you can notice, everywhere I have replaced a question mark with a full stop. So in interrogative sentences, from a direct to an indirect speech, we remove the question mark, replace it with a full stop. And the last rule, which is not explained in any of the examples, is very simple, pretty enough, that says negative abbreviations like can't, isn't, then. In those cases, we convert them into entire word. We write the full form, cannot, is not. So, while converting interrogative sentences from direct to reported speeches, we use all these 5 rules, and these are certain examples. Let's revise these rules. For first rule, for converting from direct to a reported speech, we do not use the word said. We use either asked or inquired of. In sentence which begin with an indirect or interrogative pronoun, they remain the same, like where remains where and how remains how. For auxiliary verbs like is, are, am, do, does, we do not begin the reported speech with these auxiliary verbs. Instead, we use the verb if or whether. For the second last rule goes like a question mark is always replaced by a full stop. Why? Because in interrogative sentences, when you're telling this to somebody, it is an indirect speech. Indirect speech has certain variables, and then it becomes a normal speech. So a question mark is always replaced by a full stop. And in the last thing, all the abbreviations in the direct speech are converted into proper full forms. So this is how our direct and indirect lesson ends. All these rules will help you understand this topic better and answer your questions in your exams.